Hey now, welcome to Season 1, Episode 2 of the Daisy Glaze Podcast. I'm Henry Martinez. Today we explore television and how it was 50 years ago in the mid-1970s. This was the time of pre-internet and pre-cable. I guess you could say we were prehistoric. While I know there's no way we will ever surrender unlimited broadband and endless news and entertainment choices in today's cyber world, I will present the case for this bygone era of 4 channels and the truth. So, buckle up, we're riding the shockwave back in time, but without the Six Flags Flash Pass. First, let me paint a picture for you of my television existence as a child. We didn't own a color TV until around 1976. It was always black and white, and the model we had was a cheap one that would occasionally spew out loud electrical pops from the back. It's a wonder we didn't worry about a fire hazard. And forget about a remote control. We never had one the entire time I was growing up. In fact, I was the human remote control. Go change the channel. We would later rent VCRs. My folks never owned one because they were too expensive, as were the tapes. We lived about 30 miles from Dallas, so rabbit ear antennas weren't going to work where we lived. We bought a tall antenna that we installed next to the house. And I can't tell you how many times my dad or brother asked me to go outside and adjust the antenna for a better signal, rain or shine. Even then, we could only get the 4 major channels available on the VHF frequency: ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS, in addition to the independent KTVT Channel 11. We couldn't even get a clear signal for the UHF channels, which disappointed me since that meant no watching the Von Erichs wrestle from the Sportatorium on Channel 39. It wasn't until 1979 when we made the jump to cable, which felt like a giant leap for mankind and a small step for me no longer having to mess with that freaking antenna. So, even with all of that hassle and inconvenience, I still have fond, even wistful memories of that era of my TV life. Here's why. First, with our weekly purchase of TV Guide from Tom's Food Market, it was easy to navigate our programming choices. It made TV watching a much more communal experience, like when 140 million of us watched Roots in 1977. 85% of all TV homes watched all or part of that miniseries, which is astounding. There's no replicating that in the current era. Also, television created anticipation for blockbuster movies. Before the explosion of cable and VCRs, you had to wait a long time, even years, to see The Godfather or Star Wars at home. But when you did, it was special. But there's one thing I miss most in particular: how we consumed news back then. There was no CNN or Fox News. You had the evening news with Walter Cronkite, CBS, John Chancellor, NBC, and Harry Reasoner, ABC. You had newspapers, national like the New York Times, and local ones. You had magazines like Time and radio. That's pretty much it. You weren't being fed news with a water hose. And despite what you may have heard, the reporting back then was way more down the middle. The Nixon impeachment congressional hearings captivated the nation. We watched and we cared. And finally, I would argue that TV offered some classic gems during that era, from All in the Family and the Mary Tyler Moore Show to MASH and Sanford and Son. I have particular fondness even now for the Rockford Files, whose spirit is being honored today with the equally humorous and quirky Poker Face on Peacock. So in conclusion, it certainly was an era of fewer choices and lots of manual labor. I wouldn't change a thing. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Daisy Glaze the Podcast. See you next time. Same bat place, same bat channel.